guys, it's Ella here from Agnes Ruby Studio. I've just got a quick project share to do with you today. I'm just making some little tags and little tip-ins for my journal out of book pages and scrappy die-cut negatives. So I've had these in my stash for ages, since I was doing card making, and I loved using the negatives, but I always ended up having more negatives than I did positives, so I've still got quite a few to use up. So now I'm putting them in my junk journals, and I posted this one on Instagram the other day with my December journal, and that's just not even a Christmas die, it's just a leaf image, and it just the colour seemed to go with my journal, so I popped it in there. And I've got this little one, nothing to do with Christmas, it's just a little tropical leaf, and I've just sewed around the outside with some Tim Holtz paper scrap on the back, and that can just either be a little tag or a little tip-in to a journal. I'll just save that for later. And then I've done these ones with my Christmas tree punch, and I made these into little pockets, so you could have a hidden tag in there or a hidden journaling card. I've made it so that there's no holes, so it's not obvious that there might be something in there. And then you can journal on the back, tip it in or tuck it in somewhere into journals, and the same with that one. And then these ones, I posted this picture of this on my Instagram a while back too, and I'm going to show you that one today. So tons of these butterfly die cuts. Now don't think you have to go and get any of the stuff that I'm using, because my dies and stamps I've had for years, so I know that there'll be Stampin' Up ones, but I couldn't tell you if you can still get them. But you can use anything in your craft room lineup. You can use any die, any punch, and it'll work. So I just wanted to show you quickly how I've achieved this distressed look. Super easy. I'm sure you can work it out, but I just thought I'd quickly show you, just in case you might want to pick up a tip or two. That's just a daisy punch, and I've put it on black cardstock just because I think I'll make that into a pocket. But black cardstock you can still journal on the back with the white gel pen, of course. So yep, yeah, so that's another idea. So I just thought I'd quickly show you what I did to achieve that result. So I've grabbed some sort of textury type of stamps, and these are old Stampin' Up ones. As I say, I'm not sure if you can still get these or not, so I'm not going to bother telling you what the stamp is, but you can use anything in your stamp sets that you may have. I've just used my Distress ink, and I've inked up the stamp without a block, just loosely, just to kind of make it a bit more random. And I've got some just scrap paper here, and I'm sort of stamping off so it's not too dark, and I kind of just like to go in the corners just randomly. I don't know why I like doing the corners, but I just do. And then in the detail of the butterfly, and then maybe just to even it up in the side there, down here, just to bring out the little detail. And then I'll grab another type of stamp and sort of go off to the side, but on top of the stamp that you've just done. And a little bit more. That one's quite a cool one, the dots. So super easy. And then that, because that's it's cream cardstock, it's kind of cool as it is. with just the distressing on the outside, but with these ones I went over it after I distressed my edges just to deepen up the colour of it a tiny bit. So this is what I did. So I'm going in the middle of the die just to get those edges inked, but without going too dark everywhere. And then what ends up happening is you end up with a lovely image on your paper underneath, which you can also use, which is cool. Now I'm kind of putting my blending tool, this is a Tim Holtz blending tool, had it for a while, probably needs replacing, the pad I mean, and it's vintage photo that I'm using on cream cardstock, and I'm just going on a bit of an angle to get my edges because that brings out the detail of the butterfly. Without going too far in a sort of a circular motion. And you don't want to be too heavy-handed at first because less is more. You can always make it darker as you see fit, but of course you can't undo it, as we all know. So I'll do the same sort of technique with the edges just because I want that ink to sort of spread across the card. And then when you've finished all your edges, take a look, see if it's kind of deep enough for you. You may want to give it a little bit more stamping. That's that for the inking. And then you get a book page, and I love these book pages because they're super aged. They've got that dark edge. I won't see much of the dark edge, but you've still got a variation in the colour in these pages. And check your words, guys. You might not like what it says. So I'm not sure what this one says. We haven't got time to read it right now, but I'll check it out later. And then you're going to just glue that down. Before you do that, you can cut it off later, or you can rip your edges now, just to make it a tiny bit easier. I find this paper's a little brittle too, so I tore the bigger edges with my ruler to make it faster, but then I cut these edges because I found that it tore too much when I did it that way before, so just a little more smidgen off there. And a little more. Now with dies that have a little bit of delicacy to them like this one, you just want to lightly go along the edges, just lightly, because you want those to stick down, and you don't want to go too close to the edge because we're going to sew around that. If you weren't going to sew around that, you'd glue right up to the edges. But I love my sewing machine and I love to sew around the edges, so I keep my glue stick well away from my sewing edge if I can. And this is just very, very lightly, so not too heavy-handed with the glue, although this type of glue does dry. It's a Yoo-hoo glue stick. And I'll need that again, so I'll just leave it there. And then smoothing down your edges. This is the point where you could add a little bit more glue if you've missed a bit. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room, this glue. And then I took another cream coloured cardstock. Again, I have tons of these left over from card making. I don't tend to do a lot of card making these days. You could measure that if you wanted it all perfect, but I don't worry about measuring too much these days. Okay, so I'm just going to pop a bit of glue there just to keep it in place when I take it to my sewing machine. That's it. And then I'm just going to deepen up those edges a little bit more. It's a little bit off, but that's okay. It will be fixed when I sew around the edges. And then I like to do the other side too, just gives the sewing line a little bit of more of a frame. You could make these into pockets if you like, or you could have them as journaling cards or flip outs or anything you like. So then you take that to your sewing machine, just sew around the edge, and I've used a zigzag stitch, and it's quite a small stitch which I thought looked nice. And there you go. That's it. Super quick, super easy, and you're using beautiful die cuts and the negatives and using up some of those book pages we all have lots of. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time. Until then, stay safe and well. Bye guys.